We've one of the things we do at InsTech is we don't allow PowerPoint presentations, but we do have an exception for great videos. So, Nigel, we're going to see your video later on, by the way. Yes. Good. Okay. Well, Nigel's got a great one, and it's going to key. Are we all ready to go? Okay. We're going to do a little brief introduction to one of our next guests. Go for it.
Hey Mitz, yeah, I got the Safehub alert about the shake over there. Is everybody okay? Okay, great. I'll be on it, thank you. Yeah, I've got the data here myself. It looks like out of 19 buildings in the area, 4 were affected. Structural damage is possible at Shibuya. Let's send out engineers to those 4 locations, prioritize Shibuya, and then send the Safehub report to each of those 4 engineers. Sounds like you're all over it. Keep me posted. Thanks, Mitz.
Hey, Rob, what's going on?
Safehub notified us that there was an earthquake near Tokyo, affecting some of our buildings. No one is injured, and the crisis response team has been initiated. They're evacuating 4 buildings and sending engineers to the sites, prioritizing the Shibuya building since there may have been some structural damage there.
Thanks for calling. I didn't even hear about it yet. I'm glad everyone's okay. Does Safehub give us the financial loss estimates?
It shows $1.2 million in direct losses across the portfolio, with 6 weeks of possible downtime estimated for Shibuya. This will exceed our deductible, but we're covered.
All right, I'll let you get to it.
I'm emailing the data to the broker and the carrier now.
Keep me updated. Great work, Rob.
Donna, Nico, come and join me on stage.
I'm a lawyer, by the way, so I'm the part of the agenda you wanted to miss, I'm afraid.
No, Nico, not at all. Anyway, Donna, that's your head of marketing. Was that your production there? Were you behind the screens?
I mean, I helped a little bit with it, yeah.
Tell us a bit more. What's going on there then with Safehub?
Well, first off, don't you want to be like Rob, right? You're the hero of the day, save the day, have your colleagues commend you for doing a great job in a time of crisis. Well, truth be told, what I'm talking about today is the real hero of the day, Safehub sensor. It was installed in all of Rob's buildings. So what it did was when the earthquake happened, it measured all the shaking for those buildings, did some magic calculations on the background, and then sent Rob a near real-time alerts notifying him if there was any damage in his buildings, color-coded them, prioritized them from most damaged to least, so he could expedite emergency response and resume business operations in the rest of the buildings. And why is that important in insurance? Great question, Matthew. I'll answer that.
Give me a chance, Donna.
No,
I'm allowed to ask
I'll ask it if you want.
So, I'm going to Indigo. You can take
Why
over.
is that important in insurance?
You know, that's a great question. So because this sensor measures shaking at building-specific sites, it now acts as a trigger for parametric earthquake policies. So that same earthquake would have happened, Rob would have got his alert. He would have also been notified if his parametric policy was triggered. And his insurer would also been notified of all the shaking data, so they could have immediately calculated their payouts based on a predetermined table and expedited process the check, sent it over to Rob.
Brilliant. Go on, Nicky. You're doing a good job.
Just out of curiosity, in terms of the coverage you get, I mean, I've done quite a lot of work in parametric products, and the thing that I've found is the product can be great, but people don't get capacity because underwriters don't like or understand the risk. How have you found getting capacity and sort of underwriters understanding how the technology links through to kind of their sort of underwriting?
Well, I'll use that for a good segue into what I was going to talk about. So part of this excitement in what Safehub is doing is we recently announced a partnership with Liberty Mutual Reinsurance. And hopefully you guys may have heard this announcement, because if you did, that means I'm doing my job right as the marketing director. But we announced that partnership, so we made this solution now available, the only one as like its type, globally. So now we can have this solution through Liberty Mutual Reinsurance exclusively using our sensors.
Your turn.
Well done, Nico. That was we didn't brief Donna for this. You're doing well. So it is actually a very exciting partnership. It started off with Mexico City. To your point about capacity, it is can be a challenge, and that particular distribution and selling it can be a challenge. So it's really been good to see this. So Donna, technical question for you. Often people are using the USGS, so United States Geological Survey, for measuring the shake or intensity from earthquakes. The sensors are actually better than that. Why would people want to use sensors though rather than USGS?
Yep. So the issue is USGS is great. Regional shake data is great for regional informations. But when you're dealing with parametric insurance, the issue with that is you're getting estimates on the area. So now your payout is determined on regional estimates instead of what's going on at your actual building site. So with the sensors, you're getting building-specific data. You're not worrying about if there's enough sensors in the area to get a proper estimate, if your soil conditions for your buildings are different from what's surrounding you. You're getting building-specific data. Therefore, the payout is based on your building specifically.
Great. So, Nico, you're not going to avoid answering the questions. Partner at Norton Rose Fulbright, you are known by many, partly because you've been generous enough to give them some money, as one of the leading lawyers for supporting funding coming into traditional conventional insurance as well as the InsurTech space. You've also run your InsurThon. But just tell us a bit more about you personally and what else I've missed out from that.
Yeah, so I obviously jumped on sort of as a young partner the InsurTech bandwagon back in about 2016, 2017. And I suppose then there was a lot of, frankly, crazy disruption going on, sort of around blockchain, cryptocurrencies. And we as a firm did a lot of those did a lot of the legal work around those emerging technologies. So I sort of set up Nexus Mutual, which is quite a well-known discretionary crypto-funded mutual. I designed the insurance policies that cover kind of cold storage cryptocurrency risk and wrote the Lloyd's kind of guidance around that. And we did a lot of the sort of blockchain consortiums, including in sort of marine, diamond provenance and other areas. And I think my view was always that it kind of wasn't sustainable because no parties, particularly in, what's interesting is the buzzwords for those was kind of collaboration. And because there was always someone who was going to lose out and there was always someone who, frankly, was going to be disintermediated. It was interesting that Andy used that word earlier. They all basically fell apart and didn't work. And I think on the sort of the product end, you had all these kind of, you had a lot of entrepreneurs who came in and thought they were going to transform the insurance market, sort of ignoring the fact that insurance is based on sound underwriting. It fundamentally always has the same capital underpinning it. And really, sort of through all that disruption, nothing has fundamentally changed. So sort of what I find quite interesting about today is the buzzword is ecosystem, and it's much more about cooperation of service provision, efficiency, and kind of the service providers to insurance working efficiently together to kind of calculate the cost of capital and the deployment of it. And so we've moved away from disruption and into sort of efficiency and cooperation and knowing what we're doing, which I think is probably sort of, the natural evolution of where InsurTech was always going to go. But there's a real maturity about the market now that there wasn't.
And just jumping in there, what about maturity of investors? So that story, the blockchain story, people came in, didn't quite work out so well. You've got a maturity of the proposition now. Last year was pretty tough for funding. You're kind of quite close to seeing what's happening. What's your view of what's happening now in 2024 and the sort of maturity of the investor?
So I don't think it's actually last year was a tough year for funding at all. We advised on over $1 billion of capital going into Lloyd's. So where you had good insurance risks that capital was following, getting funding wasn't difficult. That was across PE, collateralized reinsurance and other risks. We also, we did the wildfire defense setup, a great example of an innovative syndicate where, they've got their private firefighting unit in California. So that's about risk mitigation to get coverage. And that's kind of where innovation's going. We just did the sort of first Lloyd's captive syndicate. We advised one of the parties in relation to that. So there's still a lot of innovation going on. It's just in what I consider to be the more established market and kind of where I've more targeted my business. In relation to kind of the startups, I think we did obviously a lot of rounds at some interesting valuations back in 2020 and 2021. I think the businesses, we actually invest in quite a few startups through our kind of innovation program, which I set up primarily because I thought we were too expensive to provide paid-for advice to startups who kind of needed complex regulatory advice. So we kind of started a pro bono program where we give pro bono advice and invest. I think from my kind of investor perspective, it looks to me like the better run businesses who are positive revenue generating are now starting to get funding again, but it's been a kind of slow process.
Yeah. I don't think many American lawyers would say, I thought we were too expensive. I think that's a very sort of British humility on there. So congratulations anyway for InsuraThon.
Yeah, but a lot of these startups had really complex regulatory problems that needed high-end legal advice, where they just couldn't afford it to get over the line. I mean, Nexus Mutual, on the basis of our pro bono advice, went and did a fundraise that allowed Hugh to kind of launch, his proposition fully. And all he needed was someone to wave some paper in front of his investors to say this isn't, something that's going to get you into trouble.
Yeah. Well, I'm just conscious of time. Donna, we're in a building here that's, New York, touch wood, everywhere in the US can have earthquake risks. New York's not known for its high earthquake risk, but it's probably quite a good idea to be checking them out. Has this building got your sensors on it?
That's a good question. I mean, it's kind of silly to talk about earthquakes in New York City since New York City never gets an earthquake, right? Right? Oh, wait, what? Just recently here? No way. Okay. So wait, that's a great question. Nigel, where's Nigel at? Nigel, do we have one in this building?
It's in your left hand.
I'm going to go make sure this gets installed before I leave.
That is not going to leave the building.
I'm just going to find a spot, don't worry.
Donna, Nico, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Matthew.
Thanks.